I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Fans, wherever you are, welcome to our annual Thursday night Speed Fest here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. We call it the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. My name is Tom Baker. I am your co-host. Along with tonight, we have a couple of my partners from Speed 77 Radio in the roundtable with me. One of them with us now, one to join us hopefully a little later in the program. Jacob Seelman is with us. Jacob is our Speed 77 radio producer as well as co-host for both this show and also our Monday night Motorsports Madness show that airs, as I just said, on Monday nights at 7 Eastern here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Welcome, Jacob, to the show, and we have got a quartet of top competitors to hear from on tonight's show and a lot to get to.
Yeah, we have a whole lot to get to, Tom, and good evening, race fans, wherever you may be out there in the racing world tonight. Certainly got a lot to talk about, Tom, from the K&M Pro Series to gearing up for the K&M Pro Series this weekend on the West Coast. We've got some modified action to talk about, some Northeast action to talk about. Short tracks abound. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun show, and boy, let me tell you what, the rain, though it did delay the action this past weekend at Richmond, wasn't able to stop it, though. We still got the racing in, and it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Obviously, each of the races, including the first race of the weekend, which was actually at South Boston with the Denny Hamlin Showdown event on Thursday, each of them had their own set of interesting and intriguing developments, and had a couple of hockey games that broke out, or boxing matches or wrestling matches, however you want to label it. A couple of fist fights. We had a couple of we had cars on fire over the weekend. I mean, it was if excitement's what you look for in motorsports, you certainly found it between South Boston and Richmond. NASCAR really put on a show in all the divisions.
Yeah, they did, and believe it or not, we were talking about fist fights in the Sprint Cup Series. Boy, we had a fist fight there, certainly interesting deal there for the Denny Hamlin Short Track Showdown as well, Tom. Boy, oh boy, we had a fist fight. I know Jeb Burton got into it there in a skirmish. We don't talk about Jeb having a temper when he runs the truck series, but boy, you get him in a late model and he gets all fired up. It was really a lot of fun to watch on the track, but you get that kind of action off track and it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, certainly did. And, of course, I think everybody knows what happened with Marcus Ambrose and Casey Mears after the Cup race on Saturday. So definitely a lot of tempers flaring over the course of the few days that the action took place up there in Virginia. They say Virginia's for lovers, but certainly didn't look like that over the weekend.
No, it did not. But if Virginia's for lovers, Virginia's also for teammates, Tom. And a pair of Bill McAnally Racing teammates that dominated the K&M Pro Series festivities there in Richmond. Want to give a shout-out to Matt Bowling, who bested all comers in Denny Hamlin's charity race, the Short Track Showdown at South Boston. He took the win. I believe the highest finishing NASCAR regular was Rowdy Busch in fourth. And, you talk about this being Denny Hamlin's charity race that he puts on every year, but Denny Hamlin can never seem to find his way to victory lane in his own race. He's only done it once, and pretty much every other year he's been out to lunch.
Well, I think the level of competition in that event and the diversity of it as well would just make the odds not in Denny's favor to just go out and win. It isn't as though it's Denny Hamlin and a bunch of young drivers who don't know what they're doing or are still learning. This is a really competitive race with some of the best drivers from several different disciplines, and it was neat to see actually this year that a couple of the NASCAR modified guys were included in the invitations, and so it was fun to see those guys. George Brunholz III was involved, and a couple of the other guys as well. It was good to see those guys get opportunities in a late model and to do something a little different. I think that's a format that I really think we ought to see more of. I'd be in favor of some sort of short track IROC sort of series if someone could come up with something that worked, because I think it's fun to see the Ryan Preeces of the world and as we mentioned, GB3 and then the late model guys themselves running against the Cup drivers and the K&N guys and so forth. So it was a good mix of drivers. Certainly no shame in Denny only winning it once. It's just because the level of competition is so high.
Well, yeah, but you've got to factor in there Kyle Busch has won it 3 times. So there's something to be said
true.
there.
He runs more late model races now, though, than Denny does. I think it's hard to just go dip in and dip out of any division of racing now because there's just so much competition all the way around. It's hard to go in, and run against guys who do that sort of thing, any sort of thing. Whether it's somebody dipping into a Cup race or dipping into an IndyCar race like Kurt Busch is doing, or whatever the situation. It's just hard to go into another discipline, even if you were there at one time. The technology changes so much and the cars change and so forth. It's just hard to go in and do that. Kyle Busch keeps a relatively healthy schedule of late model races throughout the season. So, he stays competitive in that form of racing.
Do we have to name some of the big ones? The Snowball Derby, the Winchester 400, you name it, Kyle Busch has driven in it. I remember that race at Berlin that they ended up naming after him, the Rowdy 250, I think it ended up being a couple of times because he just walked in there and won it 3 years in a row, and everybody was gunning for him, and they ended up naming the race after him. And, Kyle Busch is good, but we don't need to inflate his ego any more than it already is.
Well, some would ask if that was possible, actually, but we're kidding, Kyle. We're only kidding. Again, the Oxford 250, Kyle, as I say, he runs a number of those events, so it's easy, I think, much easier to stay in tune, so to speak, than when you just drop in once or twice a year. But I'm sure Denny has a lot of fun nonetheless, and it's a great event for a great cause, and, helps him to raise a good bit of money and call a lot of attention to cystic fibrosis and his foundation and all the things he does. So that's a neat event. And again, I think it's interesting because it becomes sort of in a way, a who's who of short track racing of sorts, at least of the relative stock car variety, if you would extend that to include the NASCAR modifieds, NASCAR short track all-star race in some senses there. And so it just makes it a lot of fun for everybody, I think. And it's always neat when somebody wins that a Cup guy, because after all, it's run on a short track. So, a Matt Bowling or, somebody like that getting the win is a really nice showcase for him. And it isn't as though he's beaten slouches. He's, beaten some of the best in the sport. So that's always a lot of fun.
Absolutely right. Let's get to some K&N Pro Series action, shall we? We mentioned the teammates earlier out of Bill McAnally Racing, Nick Drake, who won the pole for the event on Saturday that ended up being on Saturday after the rains moved in. The Blue Ox 100, Drake leads the early portion of the race, and then right around halfway, his teammate Cole Custer comes calling. And if you've heard that name before, well, with good reason. Cole won twice in the K&N Pro Series East in 2013, scored a K&N Pro Series West win earlier this season, and has now added another East victory to his growing trophy case with a win in the Blue Ox 100 on Saturday morning. He takes the lead, doesn't look back in that Bill McAnally, Gene Haas sponsored Napa number 00 machine. Cole made a Truck Series start at Martinsville a few weeks ago, Tom, or I guess now it's been a little over a month ago, but did a masterful job in that race and certainly has figured out the way around these bigger NASCAR National Series racetracks. He just keeps laying them down.
Yeah, Cole is doing a great job, and I think one of the things that I see in Cole, he's a finisher. You don't see Cole crashing out of a lot of events unless he's on the wrong side of someone else's bumper, which has happened a couple of times here lately. But you don't really much see Cole, crashing cars. He's a good, solid racer and doesn't overdrive. I mean, he does a great job, and he's a good kid. And I think it was neat to see him get the win, and he and his teammate did a great job. Nick's a talented racer in his own right. So again, just a testament to the quality of the competition in the K&N East Series that we tend to talk about the Turner Scott guys a lot. And of course, we're going to hear from Ben Rhodes again a little later, but you tend to talk about guys like that, and some of the other guys that have previously won, but Cole Custer's a driver that certainly can compete with the best of them, and I think he's got a good future ahead of him.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. I think he's one of the very, very much bright stars to come in this sport. And, he's going to talk about it in the interview that I got to him here earlier this week about being elected to the NASCAR Next program. Certainly a big accomplishment that he cited is going to be one that will carry him a ways to go. Tom, I got a chance to catch up with him after the big win in Richmond, so we're going to roll the tape and hear from Bill McAnally racer and Richmond winner Cole Custer. Cole, really appreciate you taking some time to come back on the show with us. And first off, a big congratulations to you for the run you guys had at Richmond. I know the first half of the race, it was just for you guys a little bit about getting the car right, but it seemed like once you got the car right on Saturday morning, you guys really were the class of the field.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great car. I had a little bit of a problem in the first practice, so we got that all figured out, and then we had a great car in the race, and we were able to just come in with the win.
What's it been like for you? Because I know this was kind of a whirlwind weekend. You got the win at Phoenix out west. Now you've got a win out east at Richmond, and you've just been elected as part of NASCAR Next for 2014. I'm sure for you it's been a lot of emotion, but also a lot of really good momentum for you going forward here over the past week as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. Starting off the year with that win in Phoenix, really wanted to come back and win that race, and then come Richmond where we thought we were going to be really good, and we were able to put it all together and come on with the win. And being a part of the NASCAR Next is a huge deal. I mean, there's a lot of guys like Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott who are putting the world on fire right now that have been in that program. I think it's helped them a lot, so I think it's an honor to be in that program, and just hopefully we can keep getting better, and we're looking forward to Iowa in a few weeks, I think, so I think we're going to be pretty good there.
Your last couple of wins in the K&N East, we saw you win at Loudon last year. We've seen you now win at Richmond this year. We saw you win at Iowa. What is it about these big tracks where it seems like the eyes of the Nationwide Series and Sprint Cup Series teams are watching? What is it about the big stage that seems to suit your style or get you guys to just press that little bit harder when you go out on the racetrack?
I think overall I have a really good crew chief. I think he's really knows what he's doing, and he always gives me a car that I can really race with. And I mean, I think I really understand these bigger tracks. I think the short tracks last, we kind of brought like a knife to a gunfight almost with the cars we had. You know, we couldn't fix that in the middle of the year. So that was on us, and I feel like it's always fun going to the big tracks too, because you're part of the Cup race, you're part of the nationwide race, you're part of, you know, a big show, so it's always cool being with those guys.
And I know a big weekend for you really came with battling your teammate Nick Drake for most of the weekend. You sat outside pole to him during qualifying on Friday, but it was Nick that you had to pass for the victory come the race itself on Saturday morning. What was it like for you knowing that it was a team car you were fighting for the win, and what kind of a balance was it, pushing hard and knowing you wanted to get that win for yourself, but at the same time having that respect for your teammate on track?
I mean, it was a really cool race. I mean, Nick's constantly getting better, it seems like, this year. I mean, he's come from sprint cars, and it's been a pretty big transition from him from that. So for him to get a pole was really cool. And first part of the race, we were just kind of riding around, and I think he was using up his tires a little bit more than I was. But it's really hard when you're in the lead there, because it's just, you can't really gauge off other people, like how fast they're running. Even when I was in the lead, I didn't know how fast I should be running. So I think we were just able to save a little bit more, and then we were able to get him on that restart and just hold on from there.
Looking at the weekend, I know for you, gives you a lot of momentum coming to Iowa and getting ready to go back there, a track where the last time you guys were there, you dominated the entire race, led every lap to the victory. Does that give you any added confidence going back to a racetrack where you guys know at least the last time you were there you had it figured out?
That was pretty much our place last year. It felt like it was a place where we kind of felt like we could go any weekend and be the fastest car there by a good amount. So we're always looking forward to go to Iowa, and I think we're still going to be really good this year.
I want to go back a minute and talk about that first race of the season that you won at Phoenix, because I know for you it was a little bit of redemption after the way you had it taken from you in the fall when you led every lap but the last one and had that little run in there right at the very end of the race with Gray Gaulding. What was the emotion like going back and running again as strong as you did, but this time being able to seal the deal?
I mean, it was awesome because, last year I think we kind of caught everybody by surprise. We were ahead of the field, I think. And then this year we kind of came back. We were fast, but we weren't as far ahead as we were last year. I mean, it was really cool because I had to race with Greg Pursley and kind of play the mind game on saving tires and stuff, and then he eventually got wrecked by a lap car. But it was a cool race, and it was cool to come back there and win, so that was the one that we really wanted.
And being elected to the NASCAR Next program on Friday at Richmond, I know a big step for you, and you talked about the guys like Kyle Larson, like Chase Elliott, who have used the program to springboard to even bigger and better things. What do you feel like the opportunity is going to be for you with the program this year, and what do you hope you can get out of it?
It's a program that gives you a lot of exposure. A lot of people in the upper series start to know your name, and they've actually, they have a great media coach that teaches you a lot about that. And, it's cool getting to know all the drivers out in it, because it's a really cool group with Austin Hill and Brandon McReynolds and Jesse Little. It's always cool to have a lot of guys there, and you can get to know them.
And Cole, I know a lot of momentum headed into the next couple weeks, but the success you had this weekend couldn't be possible without a lot of people and supporters. I'm going to let you give some shout-outs. Who makes it happen for Cole Custer?
My crew does an awesome job. They put great cars on the track every single week, and Bill McAnally and Napa Auto Parts. It's been great working with them this year. And Gene Haas and Haas and the Michigan Kid. I wouldn't be there without them. And my crew chief, Matt Dawson. Love working with them, and I think he really knows what he's doing.
And Cole, again, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your schedule to talk with us. We wish you all the best as you head to Iowa here in a couple weeks and look to defend your win in the challenge from last fall. And once again, congratulations on the start to your season that you've had. A lot of success, and we've really enjoyed watching you on track so far in 2014.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Tom, just a very well-spoken young man. I think he's going to go a very long way. Definitely well-deserved in the NASCAR Next class for 2014. I felt like that was a great choice by NASCAR and their committee that takes care of that initiative. Custer, just in general, very talented and very wise beyond his years, I've heard a lot of people say. So, going to be interesting to see what he can do for the rest of 2014. He'll get back at it along with the rest of the K&M Pro Series East in 2 weeks from this weekend when they go to Iowa Speedway for the first of their annual East-West Challenge races, where the two divisions combine for a bragging rights and points race. So it'll be fun to watch, and we're not done hearing from the K&M Pro Series East. Up next, we have got Turner Scott Motorsports driver Ben Rhodes. Tom, let me tell you what, Ben and I talked about a little bit of everything in this interview, and I'll tell you right now, this is one that you and everybody else out there that's listening tonight, you're going to want to hear this, because Ben's been up to some pretty interesting stuff during his off time so far since the Richmond race, and we got a chance to hear about it. He's a Kentucky boy, so there's a lot going on in the state of Kentucky, getting ready for the end of the month with the Kentucky Derby and all those other happenings going on. So you'll hear from Ben Rhodes when we come back. Right now, these words: you are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. We'll be right back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Before he was a champion, he was just a kid named Brad, desperate to prove himself on the nationwide circuit.
Fine now. All clear.
He had to risk everything to win.
Not so easy for Keselowski.
He had to earn his spot at the top. And every year, a new crop of drivers is eager to do the same. Because if they want to make their name, they'll have to do it here. This is the Nationwide Series.
Steven, do you like dirt modifieds and sprint cars?
I sure do, Clint, but I like full fenders and late models, too. Whoa. What about the super modifieds up at the Steel Palace? You can find all of those and more with driver interviews on the Turn 5 Racing Podcast, released weekly on YouTube.com, Podbean.com, and on iTunes. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at Turn 5 Podcast. Turn 5 is a proud partner of Race Chaser Online and Speed 77 Radio. Search Turn 5 Racing Podcast.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and going to be joined a little later by our New England native Kyle Souza to the round table here tonight. But Tom, let me tell you, we've had this next guest on our show a few times already this season, but with good reason. He's done a lot of good so far in 2014, both on and off the racetrack. Ben Rhodes out of the Turner Scott Motorsports stable. He didn't get back-to-back wins in the K&M Pro Series East, but boy, he came as close as you can cut it. Finished second, was chasing down Cole Custer all the way to the flag. I think if he'd have had one more lap, he'd have gotten poor Cole, and Ben just really on a roll. Extends his points lead now out to 18 markers, and I didn't think he was going to be a legitimate contender for this championship race in 2014, but he is showing the kind of poise that another one of his teammates did in 2013, and that guy might have been Dylan Kwasniewski, who went on to win the K&M Pro Series East championship.
Yeah, Ben is, again, you remember, excuse me, talked earlier about Cole being wise beyond his years. Ben certainly fits that. And he just, again, very mature racer, very smart racer. He showed it all the way through late models and into the K&N series. And he's really he gets more comfortable, it seems like, with every race he runs in the K&N car. And I really believe that he is a legitimate contender for the championship, and I think he's going to factor into pretty much every race through the rest of the year at this point. I just don't think you can count him out anywhere, because even some of the tracks that, he hasn't necessarily done well at last year, Greenville comes to mind. He came right back this year, good strong run there. So, I just think this is a young man with a very bright future, and again, another member of the NASCAR Next program as well.
And you wonder what the common thread is here. These NASCAR Next guys are getting it done. We talk about Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, some of those guys that Cole Custer mentioned who are graduates of the program who have really just started to set the world on fire in 2014. And I think Ben is on his way to maybe being quickly mentioned in the same breath as some of those guys, because he's done so remarkably well so far in 2014, and I expect that to continue. And Tom, he didn't just end his strong runs on a racetrack Saturday in Richmond. He goes Monday night and wins a different kind of race there in his native state of Kentucky during prep for this year's Kentucky Derby. He won a bed race. And no, I did not stutter.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we've talked about what a mature racer Ben's developed into, and, there's kind of an old adage about a lot of these young racers, pretty much when you're Ben's age, you'll race anything with four wheels and a motor. Well, Ben will race anything with four legs on it. He doesn't care. Get him a horse, and he'll probably run in the Derby. I would imagine if you got him a good horse to run, I'm sure you'd see Ben in the Kentucky Derby. He's just he's a racer, man, and he wins a bed race. I can't wait to hear about this.
Oh, trust me, we definitely talked about it, and it was fun. And he's always fun. He's always entertaining, and race fans, get ready to hear about this, because Ben was so proud of that bed race trophy. He wanted a Richmond trophy to go with it, but hey, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. We're going to roll the tape. Here's Ben Rhodes after his run in Richmond. Ben, we've had you on the show a couple times recently, and always good to have you on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show. You almost got another one. Didn't keep the pole streak alive, which I know got to you a little bit, but almost made up for it in the race. Just came up a couple car lengths short there at the end of Cole Custer.
Yeah, it was a really good race for us, and I really enjoyed it. We worked really hard that weekend. We unloaded, I think it was the 25th car, somewhere back there in the 20s. The guys kept working on it. They thought about it all night, came back the next day, made a bunch of adjustments, and went out for practice and kept tuning on it. That probably should be second place car. We were right there contending for the win, though, so we were there, just not close enough. I think we had a little bit more time we may have been able to.
What was the difference in qualifying? Because you had 3 straight poles coming into the event, and it just seemed like missed it a little bit in that qualifying session. What was the difference for you guys?
Well, I think if we were able to get a little bit more practice with the car, that the setup that we changed to, we unloaded so bad, so that took us a lot of practice time just trying to get the car where we could compete. Once we got the car to where we compete, we had to start fine-tuning on it, and we just didn't have enough time to start fine-tuning. So I think we had more time in practice. I think we could have been right there in qualifying and in the race.
I know, certainly still a great weekend for you. You extend the points lead out, almost a 20-point advantage in the standings now, headed to the next race for the East Series at Iowa. What's it been like for you grabbing the points lead and running with it here the last couple weeks? I know originally the goal was just Rookie of the Year, but all of a sudden that goal really seems to have shifted a little bit.
Yeah, we had a championship in my name, Rookie of the Year, but I didn't know how well we were going to do, and it shows how strong our team is, and I think if we can keep doing the performances that we're doing right now, we should be able to pull this championship off. Right now, I feel like the pressure is on everybody else and not us, because we're staying very consistent, And if we keep doing what we're doing and repeating the same thing every weekend, we should be gapping the points more and more every week.
Another big thing for you that happened over this weekend, I know, was the election of the new NASCAR Next class for 2014, and the program, including you for this year, certainly a big step for you in not just your career progression, but also from a standpoint of being able to move your season forward. What was that like over the weekend for you, and what are you going to be able to use from it going forward for the rest of this season?
Well, you know, it's a big honor to be part of the NASCAR Next class, especially for this 2014-2015 season. It's pretty special this year. They're really ramping things up. We're going to do a lot more events, and it's pretty cool, some of the stuff that they have planned. I know last year we had a lot of cool events that got us involved with a lot of media that is in the industry, as well as drivers and important people like presidents of tracks that allow us to communicate and build relationships early on, and we can just grow them as we progress in our careers.
For you, looking at this next race on the schedule at Iowa, Iowa's been kind of a love-hate track for you. When you've been solid there, it's been really good for you, and when you've struggled, we've really noticed that. What's going to be the mindset going to Iowa for the East-West Challenge this time around, and what kind of a challenge does it give you competing against the West guys?
Well, you know, Iowa, like you said, it was a love-hate deal, but a lot of it was what I was doing, and I know what I was doing, you know, so I can fix that. And I feel pretty confident going into Iowa that we can compete for the win. I feel like we can get a car that can win the race just like we do everywhere else. Iowa's an interesting track. I feel like I do really well there at times, and then other times we do not so well. And the times we don't do so well is because of me. I was just learning last year, trying to figure everything out. You know, just being a rookie last year with only a couple of races under my belt and going there when we finished third in one race, you know, that was pretty good, I thought. And if we could do that last year with no experience, I know we can do something really good this year going back.
And I know you got a couple weeks off before you get to Iowa on May 17th for the next round of the season, and I know it's kind of been an interesting last couple days for you, starting off that time. For you being a Kentucky boy in a little bit of a traditional manner, you're at some of the pre-festivities for the Kentucky Derby here.
Yeah, we were just racing in the Kentucky bed race last night, so that was really cool. We actually pulled it off and got the win out of it. We're only the third winner in about 15 years. That was pretty special. So we actually defeated the 5-time champs, and we took home the trophy this year. So it's going to look like it's going to be an ongoing rivalry between us and a couple others for these next few years. And it's really fun. I really enjoyed it. And now today we're out here at the Derby Pegasus Parade, which is, it's like the pre-show. Everybody can come in and see the floats and all the festivities inside the, I guess you call it the Civic Center here in Louisville. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Okay, now you've got me curious, because I know a racer tries to find anything that they can get a trophy out of, but you've got to explain that now. Talk about the bed race.
Well, the bed race, it's pretty neat. It's a figure 8-shaped track. You have an inside lane and an outside lane, and the outside lane starts out on the outside, and then it has inside next corner. If you start on the inside, you're inside one corner, outside on the next. So it's equal distances for the both guys, and it's pretty neat. We had 2 international pole vaulters pushing the bed, as well as 2 other guys that work with those guys, the pole vaulters, at this health clinic. And, you know, one was ex-military, and the other is like the COO of the health clinic. They're all really fit athletes. And it was pretty cool to have them on the team. They did an amazing job pushing the bed. I could hear them huffing and puffing behind me, but I was leaning over trying to get my weight on the left side and the right side, and it was cool stuff.
And certainly very different, but I know a little bit of a satisfaction point for you getting a trophy. I know you want one of those East trophies a little bit more, but I'm sure it's still one of those moments of pad in the trophy case.
Oh yeah, for sure. Any win's a win, whether it's on a bed, in a porta potty, or in a race car. I don't care. I think they have porta potty races somewhere, from what I've heard. I think that was some other festival somebody was telling me about the other week when they told me, when I told them about racing beds. Some of these stories you hear for that, the way people connect to the Derby festivals is pretty funny.
And certainly a real different experience. But Ben, I know headed to Iowa, and you've had 2 top 2 runs the last couple races and can't do it by yourself. Give some shout-outs. Talk about who makes it happen for Ben Rhodes.
Well, Alpha Energy Solutions is what made us go around the track in the bed race and around the track in the K&N Series and the Truck Series. So certainly a big shout-out for them. We also have Refrigerant Rescue, Alliance Comfort Systems, Park Community Federal Credit Union, and Kentucky National Guard.
And Ben, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Certainly always entertaining for sure, and wish you all the best here. Hope you enjoy the time off for a couple weeks, and look forward to seeing you on track here when the East-West Challenge kicks off in a couple weeks at Iowa.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
There you go, Tom. Bed races.
Well, again, some drivers will race anything with 4 wheels and a motor, and Ben wins on something with 4 legs and a mattress. So that's kind of how that works.
Exactly how it works. And I tell you what, he was so fired up about that bed, and Alpha Energy Solutions being a big part of that. I know that's a company that is really going places in NASCAR and in this whole industry in general, doing a lot for the sport and a lot for some of the local communities and local racing as well. So good to have them supporting that. And Tom, I tell you what, before we go to commercial, just really excited to see where Ben can take this Turner Scott organization. I mean, I know we've talked about most of his other teammates as well, the Cameron Haleys and Kaz Grallas and Scott Heckerts of the world, but you think about what Ben has done in that car so far this season, and he's almost carrying the entire organization on his back here through 5 races in the K&N East Series.
Well, yeah, I suppose you could make the case for that, but he, again, I just think Ben is the kind of a racer who's suited to the longer style races. I mean, he's just a very smart, very racer, and one thing that he's gotten a lot better at over the years is actually racing in traffic, and that really has shown the last couple of seasons in the big cars, and he's gonna be an outstanding racer for a long time, and I do see him most definitely in NASCAR's major leagues here on a permanent basis here before too much longer. And he's an outstanding young man too. It's just nice to see that he has gotten as far as he has, and certainly Turner Scott's built quite a group there with all the drivers they have. They're all very promising and have great potential, and Ben right now has kind of been the strongest out of the box, but we've got a long way to go yet.
Yeah, we do, and you can always know that there's going to be a Turner Scott voice or 5 checking in on us along the way. I just saw on Twitter, Sticks Buckley, Ben's PR, just went and gave us a video of the bed race. So now after the show, I'm going to have to go watch this bed race and see exactly how they managed to take the trophy home. I'm excited about this now, but you know what? That's for right after this show. For now, we're going to head to another caution flag. When we come back, we'll hear from another young driver who performed very strong in the K&N Pro Series so far in 2014. A family operation. Ronnie Bassett Jr. joins us to talk back-to-back top 5s in the K&N East Series and how he has built this operation up into what may be a contender before it's all said and done in 2014. First, though, these words. You are listening to Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. We'll be right back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Not nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Hi, this is Jamie McMurray here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible. Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker right now around tonight's round table. And Tom, as we move into the second portion of our show here tonight, let me tell you, this is another young driver. It seems like we've talked a lot about the K&M Pro Series tonight. Well, we have, but with good reason, because they give us a lot to talk about here after Richmond and headed into the combination race in a couple weeks at Iowa. And this young man is definitely one whose stock is rising in the K&M Pro Series East while he's still a rookie. And you've watched him a ton. I've watched him a good bit here over the last year and a half. But Ronnie Bassett Jr., that family-owned operation, taking him to new heights in 2014, and he's coming off back-to-back top 5 finishes in the K&N East Series, something that I really did not expect until the latter part of this season, but he's been real impressive so far.
Well, yeah, he really has, and you're right. I've watched Ronnie race since his days in the Legends cars, and he and his younger brother Dylan, obviously great success in those cars, and have had tremendous success in the late models as well. Dylan's still racing in the late models. Ronnie trying to make the trip, or make the step is what I wanted to say, up the racing ladder into the K&N East, and a couple of top 5s already. I mean, he's just really, they're talented. And the key is not just the driving talent that Ronnie and Dylan have, but also the people that they've got around them. They've got really good crew chiefs and crew members who work very hard and know what they're doing. And, they're putting out a good piece for Ronnie to drive, as they do with Dylan in the late model whenever he gets behind the wheel of that car. And it makes a big difference because, of course, this is not a, Cup team or even an established K&N Pro East team. This is a family organization that they've built from the ground up. And, again, they've got good people around them who know how to set up race cars, and that makes a big difference for Ronnie and for Dylan as well.
Yeah, it does, and they've definitely they've shown a passion, especially Ronnie here over the past couple weeks, the likes of which I think is not rivaled by a whole lot of people in this K&M Pro Series. Ronnie wants to make this work, and they want to do it with the family team. That's really a big thing, I feel like, for both brothers, and they're doing a fine job of it so far this season. Ronnie finishing second at Greenville, didn't quite get to Ben Rhodes to challenge for the win, but had a great run, finishes 5th here over the weekend at Richmond, and you just got to feel like sooner or later that win's going to come.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. I mean, again, it's a tough division, and there's a lot of strong racers and strong race teams in K&N Pro Series East, but I think that team, the Bassett team, is going to be up to the challenge here. I think it's just a matter of time before you see the Bulldog in victory lane in a K&N Pro Series East race, and and hopefully it'll work out that sooner or later, perhaps as early as 15, we can get Sparkplug up there and have them both running in the East Series. I think that would be a an interesting combination to watch the two brothers at that level competing against each other, but also, competing together against the rest of the competition. That would be a strong dual threat for sure in the organization. And I know you had a chance to catch up to Ronnie a little bit earlier and have a talk with him about his success so far in the series.
Yeah, I did, and he certainly had a good bit to say about his run, so we're going to head back to the Speed 77 Race Chaser phone line as I caught up with Ronnie Bassett to talk his 2014 campaign and his very surprising but yet strong run at Richmond. Ronnie, we had you on the show over the winter getting ready for 2014, and I know you said the K&M program was going to be a little bit of a challenge for you guys this year, but you guys have tackled it head on, and really, really great to see you guys come away with such a strong result, not just at Richmond over the weekend, but even going back to the race you guys had at Greenville a couple weeks ago where you ran second to Ben Rhodes there at the very end of the race. It just seems like you guys have finally started clicking on it for this year.
Yeah, definitely. It was a challenge from the beginning of the year. It wasn't the start that we really wanted. The guys, they never quit working, and they put their heart and soul into it. They was determined to make it better. It couldn't get no worse. So we definitely tried all we could to get it to make it better. I feel like we've done so far. Like I said, we had a really good race at Greenville. And went back to a track that we had run some late model stuff at, and I was used to, and it definitely helped a lot. I mean, the guy's done a great job on getting the car back to the way it should be driving and being able to go to a track like that we've been to and save tires and contend for the wins in is nothing more we could ask for. But, we were able to go to Richmond this past weekend, and like I said, another track we raced at in the late model. Had a really good race car. Spun the tires really bad in the last restart, running fourth, and fell back, lost a few positions, and ended up getting a top 5 finish. But like I said, the car was in one piece, and now we can get together. Instead of rebuilding the car this week, we can fine-tune and adjust and get stuff ready for Iowa.
I know coming up at Iowa going to be a really big test for all the East teams, with it being the East-West Challenge. For you guys, though, knowing how much you struggled to start the season, is there some sense of satisfaction with the 2 top 5 finishes you guys have had in the last couple weeks, knowing that, hey, we finally got things where we want them here for, at least for these short tracks?
Yeah, I feel like the guys have learned a lot as far as the car, and I've learned a lot myself. I think things can just keep getting better. We've been inching up on it a little at a time, and I feel like we've shown it the past 2 races, and hopefully it can just get better. Like I said, the guys are still learning a lot about the cars. I'm still learning a lot, and hopefully a win will come soon. But the competition is just so tough. Everybody got the top 10, which is, there's nobody that's just that much quicker than anybody. Everybody's about the same, and it's tough. You can have a really good race car, finish 10th, and it's like you could have won a race if you just had track position.
And I know track position definitely was important Saturday morning at Richmond. How did the rain delay affect your guys' strategy and how you guys ran your race? Because I know with it moving from a nighttime event to a daytime event, it definitely shifted a lot of the plans around.
Yeah, it changed a little bit. After qualifying Friday afternoon, we got to make a 5-minute adjustment session, and we actually tightened that race call up for the night race, expecting to race that night. It kind of hurt us the next day with the race being Saturday morning. It looks like the racetrack tightened up a little bit on us, and we had tightened our car up for the night race. And I think everybody actually did the same thing, it seemed like. But at least we were on the same boat. We didn't get no tweak session Saturday morning, so we raced what we had and made the best of it.
And certainly making the best of it here the last couple weeks with a lot of momentum headed to the East-West Challenge. For you, going to Iowa for the first time, what's it going to be like for you guys, not just competing against the West Coast drivers who you haven't had the chance to race against before, but it's one of the biggest tracks you guys run on the K&M Pro Series East. How's that going to affect the way you guys approach this next race in a couple weeks?
That's going to be pretty neat. Like I said, this series is all about getting the bigger tracks and getting used to the speeds. It's going to be cool, to combine ourselves with the West drivers and see what they have and see what we have for them. So looking forward to it. Different drivers, different track, fast track. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And I know you've definitely had fun here in the last couple races, and know it couldn't be possible without people and supporters behind you, so I'm going to let you give some shout-outs, Ronnie. Who makes it happen for you?
My parents are the biggest treat. It wouldn't be possible without them. We have Rick Singer Art Gallery. She's been a big help to us. Butler Trailers. I mean, not really anybody. We're really looking for sponsorship right now if anybody's interested. But everybody behind the scenes, Macrucci, Seth Smith, everybody that works on the car. I mean, there's every person that puts their hands on the car or even goes there just for support, big help.
And I know looking forward to get back on track here in a couple weeks. Ronnie, congratulations on a couple of great runs. Definitely proven that even though you guys are a family-funded team, family-run operation, you can take it to some of the bigger operations in the K&M Pro Series East. And I know you guys real proud of that effort here the last couple weeks. Wish you all the best as you guys gear up to head for Iowa in a couple weeks. And look forward to having you back on the show here later in the season.
Thank you. I appreciate you reaching out to us, and hopefully next time you talk to us, it'll be with a win.
A lot of good things going on there, Tom, and let me tell you what, just Ronnie and Dylan both, real classy young man, always enjoy talking to them, and they've just stayed very humble as they've moved up the ladder, and that's a lot to be appreciated for that, and just very level-headed, both of them, cool under pressure on the racetrack, and you can see it when they drive. There's really not a lot that rattles either one of them when they're behind the wheel.
No, and they can be really aggressive when they need to be, and they can be very patient and poised when they need to be too, which, the mental game definitely with both of them is a great asset. And it's been interesting to just watch them get better and better and better as they went from the Legends cars into the late models, and now Ronnie progressing into the K&M Pro Series East cars. And so, yeah, it's always fun to watch them run. And again, you're right. They're very humble. They're very faithful young men, and that you see that that's so prevalent with a lot of these kids, especially in the South, the kids that come from this area. It's very, very prevalent, and that I think that makes a big difference in your attitude and approach too. So definitely looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season holds for Ronnie and for Dylan as well when he gets his opportunities to race. And with that, we are going to take another caution flag. When we come back, we're going to switch gears, talk some modified racing, talk about Bobby Santos, a driver that I think a lot of us really had thought would probably be in NASCAR at this point. Unfortunately, Lady Luck just hasn't quite fallen his way, but he certainly is doing an excellent job of tearing up the modified tour whenever he gets the chance. And Bobby does a great job in anything he drives. We're going to hear from him and talk some modified racing here right after this final caution flag. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Stay with us.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State,
Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty,
half full.
But no matter how different we are, we're all connected, and we can all make a difference. That's why United Way brings people, expertise, and resources together to improve the education, income, and health of our communities, the building blocks for a better life. When we live united, our efforts, magnified by others, add up to real change. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly, so do our communities. But real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So let's look beyond our differences.
Live united.
One by one, let's make a difference. Let's reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all.
Live united.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Did you know that most teens who drink alcohol get it from people they know? Usually their friends or family members. But regardless of where they get it, alcohol puts teens at risk for injury, to themselves and to others. You can help make it a safe summer for the teens you know. Don't serve them alcohol. It's unsafe, it's illegal, and it's irresponsible. Find out more at don'tserveteens.gov. That's don'tserveteens.gov. A message from the Federal Trade Commission and this station.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
We're back here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker around tonight's round table. And Tom, before we hop away from tonight's show and get ready for another action-packed weekend from around the world of motorsports, want to talk some modified racing and especially the Stafford Spring Sizzler from last weekend. And when you talk Stafford Speedway, there's one name that comes to mind because he's basically been the king of Stafford over the last 2 or 3 years. Bobby Santos III, third-generation racer out of the modified ranks. He has torn it up at the Stafford Speedway half mile over the last couple years. He won his third Spring Sizzler 200 over the weekend in the last 4 years, one of the most prestigious races every year on the modified calendar.
Yeah, we talked about this last week a little bit, the prestige, and not, you think prestige, and a lot of times you think purse, you think big dollars, pays big dollars to win. Well, it's not to say that the Spring Sizzler doesn't pay decent dollars to win. That's not why it's prestigious. It's prestigious because it is just one of those signature races that has been around on the modified scene in the Northeast for so long now, and so many of the division's most prolific names have put themselves on the trophy, that it's just a race that you want to win. Bobby has definitely dominated the race, and you know what? Bobby's a driver that you just, whenever he walks into a pit area and he's going to drive something, that if you're going to win the race, one way or another, somehow, some way, you're going to have to factor him in and figure out how you're going to beat him to do it, because he's just competitive in everything he drives, whether it's a modified, a super modified, a midget. It doesn't matter what it is. Bobby just drives the heck out of it.
That's right, he does. I first got the chance to talk to him over the winter at the Rumble in Fort Wayne when he was driving a midget indoors on the concrete, and he just gets up on the wheel and goes, and that's just the kind of racer Bobby Santos is, and that's exactly what he did on Sunday afternoon in the Sizzler. He took the lead in the second half of the race and held off some challenges from Doug Toby in that Mike Smirglio-owned number 2 car and drove all the way to victory. His 11th career NASCAR Wheeler Modified Tour win, a former champion of the division, and his 6th all-time Tour victory at Stafford. So Santos doing it again. I got the chance to sit down with him after the big Sizzler win, and boy, he did have a good bit to say about that run and about the guys he beat to do it. So let's hear from Bobby Santos. Bobby, really excited to get the chance to talk with you once again for the show. Definitely congratulations, first off, on your great run in the Sizzler over the weekend. And certainly, if nothing else, we can all say on the tour that Stafford is a place that you guys over the last couple of years have had figured out.
Yeah, I've had really good teams behind me the last couple of years, to make the difference. I really enjoy going to Stafford and never complain when I see it's on the schedule, that's for sure.
Talk about the road for you to get to victory lane, because you didn't have the dominant car there in the first half of the race, but it seemed like after about lap 100, your 44 machine started to come to life and you were able to move towards the front. Talk about those last 50 or 60 laps, because once you made the pass for the lead and your car was out front, you were really able to set sail from there.
Yeah, we, the first half of the race, we were a top 5 car. And we, that's about where we're going to run. And then, on the pit stop, my crew chief, Steve LeMay, made a great adjustment that made the car better. And, the guys going over the wall picked us up a spot on pit road, which turned out to be a huge position, to make a difference in the race. In the second half of the race, my car was just, really solid. And, it stayed good for the last, 100 laps or so after the pit stop. And we got out front and for the short runs at the end there, I think we were probably the best car. And, the long run, Colby was really good. I think anytime it stayed green for a few laps, he would start to rail us in. But, the short runs and the yellows and the way the race played out worked perfect for us.
Let's talk about the racetrack, because now your 11th career win on Sunday afternoon, and 6 of them have come at Stafford. What is it about the historic little half mile there in Connecticut that seems to suit your driving style so well? Is it something about the racetrack that just suits how you drive it a little bit better? What is it about Stafford that has made you guys so good there?
Honestly, I don't know. I enjoy going there. I think, that's a big thing. I think when you go to a racetrack, just when you're excited to be somewhere, I think that helps right off the bat. And anything I've raced there, it honestly just treated me well, I guess. I guess just the flat track, something about it just suits my style.
Going forward, I know starting now to get into a little bit of the meat of the schedule for the Tour in 2014, and with a win under your belt now, certainly a boost in the points race as well. Where do you guys look at your Tour program now that you've had a couple races under your belt this year, and is a championship out of the question?
That was the goal at the beginning of the year, was to be a contender for the championship. And I feel like right now, because of our run at Stafford, we got ourselves back in the game and a shot at it. It's a long season. We're only 2 races in, a long way to go. But our goal is to be there at the end, and that's what we want. The icebreaker at Thompson definitely was not one of our best performances. We struggled there. We didn't run the way we usually run at Thompson. But, I think our run at Stafford got us the momentum we needed to get going the way we need to go.
And I know certainly the run you guys had at Stafford, a boost for your entire program, and that program wouldn't be possible without some people and supporters behind you to help make it happen. So talk about some of the people that do make it happen for Bobby Santos.
Yeah, we have a lot of great people involved in our team. Sally Pinio, Mike Turb, those are, the 2 major guys that are, putting the money in this deal and making it happen. And, just a couple small sponsors like Crimson, Driven Race and Oil that help me personally. And just, a great race team all the way around, guys that, work hard from, crew chief Stevie LeMay, Lonnie Tinio, who keeps everything organized, and, the guys that are going over the wall, of course, they're practicing in the shop. None of them are making a living or money off it. They all do it because they enjoy it and they love it. They're a lot of fun to be around. It's just a great team to be involved with.
And that's certainly a big part of the battle right there, Bobby. Again, congratulations on your 3rd Sizzler victory in the last 4 years. Certainly a streak that is starting to put you up against some of the all-time best at Stafford over the years. Wish you all the best going forward on the Wheel and Modified Tour for 2014, and hope to talk to you again later in the season about some continued success.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
And Tom, I think if they can keep things rolling, Bobby Santos, we know he has won a championship with the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour before, and he's hoping to finally win a championship with Sully Tinio and that number 44 team. I think they're going to be good if they can keep the momentum that they've got rolling right now. The next race for the Tour is again at Stafford, so look for Santos to be a competitor there. And Tom, before we finish up tonight, I know Kyle has some other obligations that he's not here at the moment, so I'm going to play Mr. Sousa and look up north real quick before we go off the air tonight to the Spring Sizzler weekend from over the weekend. Had some big feature events on Sunday in addition to the Wheel and Modified Tour. SK Modifieds were in action, and Ryan Preece dominated the second half of that 40-lap main event to go to victory lane. Tom, we've not talked about him a whole lot on the Tour yet this year, but Preece back in action in the SK and back where we've seen him so many times in victory lane.
Yeah, he's quite comfortable there. And again, it doesn't matter if it's an SK or modified or whose modified it is or what track it is. Ryan Preece is very comfortable finding his way to victory lane. And, look, let's face it. We've talked a lot about the Northern Wheel and Modified Tour being a bit diminished this year in car count, perhaps, but certainly still whole lot of very competitive modified racers on that series, and the SK modified just as competitive no matter where they run. It's it's been interesting to watch the development of that division over its tenure, because you see so many times somebody tries to kind of take a premier division like the modifieds that are relatively expensive to race and develop an entry-level version of that, and they mess it up, frankly. Well, the SKs, they've kept the rules in line, and SK and SK Light, both very competitive divisions, and it's good to see that. So, yeah, anytime there's, again, like we said with Santos earlier, anytime there's a race and Ryan Preece walks in and puts a driver's suit on, you know that the road to victory, at some point, you're going to have to deal with him.
That's absolutely right. Ryan Preece winning in the SK again at Stafford, so congratulations to Ryan. Jay Stewart dominated the late model feature event during the Spring Sizzler. He goes to victory lane, and Toby Wells takes the Northeast Mini Stock Tour feature during Napa Spring Sizzler weekend up in Stafford. And this is the part where I really wish Kyle were here, because I know how amped up he is about this weekend. The Valenti Modified Racing Series off last weekend, but they will be back in action this Sunday, May the 4th, with the Sims Metal Management 100. Big weekend for the Valenti Series. First time at Seekonk this season, and boy, Tom, Kyle's like a kid in a candy store when the Valentis come to Seekonk. He's just ready to get up on it and get going, and I know he's super excited for that race on Sunday. I think it's going to be a very competitive affair.
Oh, there's no doubt. And of course, Kyle, that's his home track, and he's working flag there, and is now going to be doing some announcing there on Friday nights, and I think a little bit on Saturdays perhaps. But it's going to be a good race. The Valenti Modified Racing Series definitely, again, has matured a bit, and I think some folks kind of looked in that direction this year as opposed to the NASCAR Wheel-In Tour and strengthened it even further. But I definitely think you're going to see some stout competition. And Seekonk's a track where, I mean, it's a bull ring, let's face it. And, the modifieds are going to put on a phenomenal show there. That's going to be a real treat for the fans on Sunday. And, hopefully the forecast holds out for them. They get a good, sunny, strong day for racing, and things go well there at the Conk.
That's exactly what we're hoping for, and we know Kyle will be there to bring it all to us, so looking forward to that. Tom, K&M Pro Series West in action this weekend after a pretty lengthy break from their last race at Irwindale, where Patrick Staropoli went to victory lane. This time, the West Series at a bullring racetrack, the quarter-mile Stockton 99 Speedway in Southern California. Tom, I'm not always crazy about these bullring racetracks because it's insanity. It's a lot of cars and not a lot of space, and there's beating and banging and roughhousing. But for these drivers, though, they always talk, these are some of their favorite races to go to on the schedule, these quarter miles, because anybody can win.
Well, and the fact that anybody can win, the mechanism that allows that is exactly what you just said. Everybody starts arguing over space, of which there isn't very much. And what we have is we have a very high attrition rate. So that's why, you can lose a lap or two early, and then with a high rate of attrition, end up making it back up, still finish the top 5 at the end of the race. I agree with you. I'm not a huge proponent of heavy stock cars on a quarter mile, but it is fun for the fans, and I'm sure it'll be very well attended, and hopefully they'll actually surprise us and run a relatively clean race. The problem is those cars are it's hard to pass without rooting somebody out of the way. So, it starts to breed cautions, and then cautions breed more cautions, and so that's they're generally races where you go being pretty sure that your fabricator is going to have some work to do come the following week at the shop.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So we'll be keeping an eye on the K&N West this weekend. Brandon McReynolds, another one of those K&N West championship contenders who was elected to the NASCAR Next class of 2014. He'll be looking to get things back on track and get to victory lane. Tom, I do want to hit one more thing before we wrap it up tonight, and this certainly something that's been on a lot of people's minds all day, and I do want to touch on it. Today, I know it's not our normal MO, but the 20th anniversary of the death of Ayrton Senna, the F1 world reeled that day, the motorsports world reeled that day. I don't have any personal memories of Ayrton. It was a little bit before my time, but I know you were around when the announcement came out of Imola, and just it was a black day in motorsports, and we stand together 20 years later to remember one of the greatest racers in modern motorsports.
No doubt. I mean, I was just a teenager when Ayrton was in his prime, and to be honest, I followed Formula One at that point, but only so much as you could back in that period of time when there wasn't a lot of racing on television yet. NASCAR was just getting to the point where we were seeing more flag-to-flag races, and I'm not even sure, there was much IndyCar racing on live still at that point. I can't remember that far back, but I do remember that when it happened faintly, but I certainly have come to know it much better as I've gotten older and started to look back. And of course, if anyone has not seen the movie called Senna, it is well worth, don't just go rent it, buy it, because the onboard footage in and of itself is worth whatever you pay for the movie and more. It's just, he was a scary good race car driver. And, the whole movie, it's the story of his life, and it's all real footage. It's subtitled because, of course, a lot of it was foreign language, and so it's subtitled. But trust me, it will be, to me, it is still the preeminent movie about anything in racing that I've ever seen. And I watch it probably once a month just to do it. And, it definitely was a sad day in the sport. He was one of the all-time greats, and just an amazing racer, and one who was always on the gas. I mean, he knew one way, and that was flat out as hard as you could go, on the edge of disaster at all times. He lived life on the racer's edge. And that's how he raced. So he will never be forgotten. And of course, through the video, through the film, now even the younger generation can get to know what that period was like in F1 and the rivalries and the teammate situation that existed and all of that. So good work to bring that up and close the show with that. We certainly will always remember Ayrton Senna as being one of the greatest ever. His legend will live on.
Yes, it will. And as we close tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show, I want to say thank you to all those at Stock Car Steel and SRI Supplies who make it possible for us to have this show every Thursday night. We'll be back a week from now at 7 p.m. Eastern with a new round, and we'll be back on the air Monday night at 7 for Motorsports Madness. And I want to close tonight as we offer tribute to the three-time world champion Ayrton Senna. As you said, Tom, his memory will live on, and we will be back on the air Monday night at 7. So for Tom Baker, Kyle Souza, and the rest of our staff, I'm Jacob Seelman, reminding all you race fans to keep it off the wall. Until we meet again, we'll see you at the racetrack. Have a safe racing weekend. And in memory of the 20th anniversary at Imola, we honor Ayrton Senna. Good night, everybody.